If you're watching, it's probably because you want to know. There truly are quite a few different theories, but the logical thing that should be asked is, well, which one is right? The goal of this series is to determine, well, just that. And in this episode, we'll be looking at the claims of an atheist, or, in other words, from an atheist perspective, where it all came from.
One of the most common atheist perspectives is the eternal universe theory. This theory states that the universe did not have a beginning and yet has just always existed. Meaning the universe is expanding and contracting over and over. There is just one problem. There's not enough matter in the universe for the universe to contract in on itself. In 1925, it was discovered that the universe was ever expanding. Through this, scientists discovered that the universe had to have a beginning. For example, Toys R Us was shut down in 2018 because they went bankrupt. They kept expanding and contracting until eventually they did a complete downward spiral and shut down. If our universe was consistently expanding and contracting, why hasn't our universe shut down yet? You would think that our universe should have shut down, especially considering we've been here a little longer than Toys R Us. So the eternal universe theory does not make sense because it has to have a beginning. This brings into discussion of what was the beginning. Where individuals with traits better suited for the environment they're living in are more likely to survive and reproduce, passing on those advantages and traits to their offspring, leading in the gradual change of a species. However, this theory relies on carbon being dated billions of years ago, as without it there would not be enough time for the evolution theory. But in the original tests that were conducted, they just simply don't hold up. The dates went from a couple hundred years to millions of years, and there just wasn't enough tests in between for this to be a reliable source. And now it's all the way up into the billions of years. Meaning the only evidence we have is shaky and unstable. Think about it this way. What is the logical next thing to do if you're standing in the midst of a worn down, unstable, and shaky house? You exit the building! Especially when you really begin to consider and think about the evolution theory.
And now this leads into the very popular Big Bang Theory, which is the most popular atheist theory on the concept of the universe. This theory was actually created by a Catholic priest. This theory actually directly shows us that there is a God because it shows us the universe had a beginning, and something cannot come from nothing. Now, most atheists might say that this is caused by nothing and that the universe has no cause whatsoever. However, most people don't even look into the Big Bang Theory. A lot of people just think it got its name from an event that happened billions of years ago where a bang just occurred out of nowhere because of dust and space particles. But even that disproves itself because, well, who created the dust and space particles? And now that we've established that there is a creator, we now have to ask what that creator is. And the logical answer is that it would be a God. The next question most people ask is, who created God? This is a bit problematic because it's misunderstanding the argument. By definition, God can't have a creator because he's the uncaused cause of, well, the universe and everything. So by definition, he is the first and the last. He's from everlasting to everlasting, or in other words, eternal.
Let's assume that something can come from nothing. Still, where did we come from? This is where atheists usually bring up the evolution theory, which states that the population of organisms change over time through a process called natural selection.
According to this theory, this is how we as people got here. However, there was something different about us as we quickly rose to the top of the food chain. there is something different about us, it's not just simply being at the top of the food chain, is it? Because we're also the most intelligent creatures on our planet. We just know more about our brain, our body, society, sociality, and about our universe as a whole, much more than any other animal ever could. The next logical question to be asked, though, is what gives us our value? Why were we picked to have these privileges, and what picked us for these privileges? Why does it all matter? Well, if we just happen to appear on this planet that just so happens to permit life so perfectly, then why do we have an objective moral compass that we try so hard to follow? After all, what other creatures follow this objective moral compass? It's only us, but why? The average atheist argument would be that we evolved selfishly to benefit our own evolutionary line. If this were true, then why is it seen as objectively good to do something for others that sacrifices something for you? Man will die for others, and that is seen as objectively good. But why is this the case if we evolved in a selfish nature for our own benefit? It seems as though we would be fighting against ourselves all the time in order for this theory to make sense. Meaning, if it's not of our nature, then what is the nature that we came from? As we evolved and as the animals around us evolved, we were the only ones that gained this moral compass. So what gave us this moral compass? Because obviously something did. The only logical answer is that we get it from God himself. But what God exactly?
Now, this is where most atheists would say, there is no God. We believe in science, not faith. Now, if you've been paying attention, you might have noticed that all of these theories have gaps. A lot of gaps. So which takes more faith? The idea that the universe has always existed and came from nothing, or that we were created by an all-powerful creator? Now, why does the creator have to be all-powerful? This question will be answered in our next video on agnosticism. You tell me, what takes more faith? Nothing or someone? Now, if there is a God, the next obvious question to ask is, what God should I follow? Obviously, if you look at our channels, you can tell that we're Christian. But why exactly are we Christian? Well, that, my friend, is the purpose of this series.